My husband disappeared after I went into labor, showed up a year later, pretending to be a changed man and tried to move back in. So I let him think he won me over, while quietly destroying his life from the inside. Me and my husband Daniel have been together for over 10 years. I'm now 31 and he's 37, and for a while we weren't able to have kids. It was the one thing in our marriage that was missing, because Daniel is so perfect. At first anyway. He was the type of guy to write down all your favorite candies in his notes app, just so he could always be ready to surprise you with them. The type of guy to squeeze your hand a little tighter during horror scenes at the movies. I loved him, truly. And giving birth to our twins, even though it was painstakingly awful, was beautiful, because the whole time I knew that we were going to have the most amazing family together, or so I thought. He told me he was a little grossed out by birth giving, and asked if he could wait outside. That's cool. I would be too if I had a PP. You're the most amazing wife ever, he said, after promising that he'd come in the second our baby girls had popped out. Well, fast forward to me lying in the hospital, in the most vulnerable state of my life. Tears stained my face. My body ached. I smelled awful. I asked my mom to go find Daniel, and she came back empty-handed. I can't find him, she said, voice shaking. My entire body immediately started trembling, like my nervous system was screaming at me that something was very wrong. And that's when the nurse handed me a letter. My tears were wetting the paper so much that I couldn't even finish the whole thing. It felt like someone was vacuuming all the color from my heart. Daniel had left the state. He told me he wanted to give me the courtesy of waiting until after I gave birth so he could help with the pregnancy symptoms. He apologized for pushing me to have kids, but after realizing the weight of it all 2 months in, he realized being a dad wasn't for him. I showed mine and his mom Grace, who was there with his granny Isabella too, the letter. And that's how I introduced my 2 baby girls into this world. As they cried, I cried too, with the 2 strongest women I knew keeping us all together. For the first few weeks, we all lived in the same house. I was basically immobile from the physical and emotional pain, so I left everything to them, and they never once complained. It wasn't until 1 year in, when we were celebrating the birthdays of my baby girls, that I found myself smiling. It was genuine, the type of smile that makes your cheekbones hurt. Life really is sweet, I thought to myself, as his grandma Isabella helped my baby girls blow out the candles. And it was at this moment, this exact moment, that we all heard a knock at the door. My eyes widened, and my mind immediately went into protective mom mode. Grace, his mom, insisted on getting it, so I let her. And when she opened the door, she screamed. It was Daniel. My face fell, and any trace of happiness immediately vanished. What the actual F? I whispered. Meanwhile, my daughters hid behind Grace. They didn't even know who he was. I just want to talk. Please just hear me out, he said, staring at me with the big brown eyes I once adored. I threw up in my mouth a little, and Isabella, his grandma, mouthed, "I'll figure it out," to me, so I left to lie down in the other room. The walls were pretty thick, so I could barely make out what they were saying, but as their voices escalated, things became clearer. I know I shouldn't have cared so much about her appearance, but I'm just a man, and my woman went from hot to fat overnight. Before I even had time to process what he had said, I heard a loud smacking sound followed by a male groan and complete silence. I knew Isabella had hit him, and I'd be lying if I said it didn't make me smile a little, but mostly I was angry. So I stepped out and did what any rational 31-year-old woman would do in this situation. I kissed him, told him I loved him, that I'd gladly take him back, and he believed me. But I had a plan. You see, in all the nights of lying awake, I spent hours imagining what I'd do if the day came where he randomly showed up while we were still legally married, and he had a really good career. So I was going to destroy him, not just for me, and not even just for Grace or Isabella, but for my baby girls too. I love you, but we need to go slow, I told him after pulling away. The girls can't just have you appearing in their lives overnight.